I'm here today with Tez Talks. This is a friend of mine that we've been working together for 5, 6 years now. We've known each other. We both kind of got started in real estate at the same time, different avenues, but I've been able to watch him in all the different aspects that he's grown in. So it's been really exciting. We're going to talk about each different aspect today. But Tez, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely,
I appreciate
man.
it. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me what you do before real estate, how'd you get into it, and what was kind of the path that's led you kind of here?
Absolutely, man. So long story short, literally long story short, I started out at a warehouse actually, and then working in this warehouse environment, I learned real quick that it wasn't for me, right? Changing my time for money. So I met a guy who was in sales, and he pitched me. He's like, hey, if you want to get out of that environment, you should start working in sales, because at the end of the day, whether you make a lot of money or a little money, you know that you made what you deserve, right? You can't be mad at anybody. And that's one of the biggest lessons I got when entering sales. I was like, I like that. Because working hourly, right? How much you make is already determined before you show up.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I like that mental shift. So anyway, I got into sales. I hated that first sales job, and then got into insurance, right? In insurance, I started to marketing to people to try to get clients, right? I went from marketing to consumers to just marketing to like real estate agents, because they're going to bring you clients.
Yeah.
And on average, there's 3 policies with the average real estate agent or family that buy a house,
Yeah.
right? Because you got a house that needs insured, and then 2 cars, husband and wife. So I'm like, okay, they got 3 policies versus me marketing this person. Long story short, I started doing that. Real quick, I learned that I was good at sales, and I came across a young lady who recruited me to go work in new home construction. And she was always talking to me about it, and I just was not interested. I was intimidated by selling a house. I had never owned a house. My mom didn't either. And I was just like, man, this may not be for me. Long story short, man, I jumped into the new home realm, started up in new home construction, and that took off. My first year, I sold 55 properties for Roush Coleman Homes. It was a stellar year. It changed my life in a whole lot of ways. And after that, they promoted me to be a sales manager. But in that first model home, when I was sitting there, within the first few months I was there, you walked in.
Yeah.
And you were actually selling the house in that neighborhood. I remember following up with you. And your name's not common. So I know it followed you around. And as I grew in this new home realm, you were growing in your world as well. And we still somehow link back up because you grew to be the managing broker, right, over Kivo. And that was awesome. Well, Roush Coleman ended up having a relationship with Kivo.
Yep.
And I came in and spoke while still at Roush Coleman. And behind the scenes, you and I were kind of talking a little bit about what I wanted to do next, and my partner at the time. After working there for so long, I learned I was good at sales. I built great relationships with people like you. I started to get into investing, wholesaling. Now I'm doing pretty much all of this stuff: wholesaling, fixing, flipping, buying, holding, etc.
Yeah.
So that's how I started, man, and that's how I'm here now.
You said something interesting. Before I got into sales, I hated the idea of sales. I had never sold anything. I didn't like it. I didn't like being. No one likes to be sold.
Right.
But I hated all that. And then when I first got my real estate license, and I made a little money, quit my job, and it was like the 3rd or 4th month that I was full-time real estate agent.
Yeah.
I made almost as much in that month as I made in the entire that last year of my job. And that's what I tell people is like, when you work for a job, for that employer to make money, they have to pay you for less than you're worth, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't make money on it. And when you get into sales, it's like an avenue into entrepreneurship almost, because you make what you're worth, and no one can stop you from selling more. If you're in corporate sales, they can set quota numbers and stuff that can prevent it. But that's the exact same thing. I still don't like sales.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of get good at it, realize you're helping clients, it's a step into entrepreneurship. And then you kind of got to the point where you had promoted a little bit, you'd had some leadership roles, but you still didn't have, and we talked about this a little bit, you still didn't have there was kind of a growth, you couldn't really go much further from the company you're at. Making good money, having success, but you couldn't really keep going on. So that's when you and your partner at the time looked at getting into wholesaling and starting that.
Yes.
So tell me, I know just by watching a lot of your stuff, your thing is you can get into wholesaling without having a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So how did you guys start out? What did you focus on? The marketing, the sales? How did you guys get started with that in the beginning when you didn't have a ton of the money to get going?
Great question, man. I think, honestly, we were kind of spoiled from having a job in sales. But managing that sales team wasn't easy, right? We had top-tier people. I mean, they were making 6-figure incomes. So these aren't sales, chumps. These people know how to sell.
Yeah.
A lot of times, they were selling us on why they couldn't sell homes and all that stuff. But so I think managing salespeople is funny because you coming to them telling them how I can help you. Look, let me show you how to get sales. And then they're returning selling you on why it doesn't work. And it's just, it was one of the most frustrating things in the world. But what we learned from managing that sales team is, like you said, like, you don't have to be a salesperson to be successful. We don't close deals. We always say we don't close deals, we close relationships, right? So as long as you have a relationship, the deal's going to roll out. Yeah. So like knowing that and then transitioning that same mindset into wholesaling. Most people out here are underserved when it comes to the way wholesaling is operated and how it functions. Like most people come in, most investors, they come in and they make the transaction about the property and about their investment. They don't make it about the seller. Yeah. So, you know, immediately we knew that we would flip wholesale on its head. That's what me and my business partner like had in mind. It's because most people, they were buyer focused. We went to their business page and it was about them. Yeah. You know, it was always about them. It was always about how much money they were making and about them. And not many of them made the process about the seller. We poured some money into marketing, right? And we couldn't dial it in at first. We didn't know. But again, we had the luxury of managing a sales team with an organization that had a marketing budget a lot fatter than most people's out here, right? So we were able to beta test like really important things. Like how many impressions does it take for a person to make a decision? We found that it was 4 to 5. And we were blessed to not have to do that with somebody else's money.
Oh, yeah. While you know, at the job.
Exactly. So we're rolling different marketing campaigns out with them. And although it's new home sales, it's still sales.
It's still sales,
It's still people making a decision on buying or not. So, you know, people really don't know how much, like, just having a sales foundation bleeds over to almost everything. Yeah. You know? So that's how we got rolling, man.
From the very beginning, you guys have always had some disposition or some sales guys. In the very beginning, was it... How long was it just you guys going out on appointments and getting deals before you got someone for the contracts and then got someone for the resale? And what was that? How'd you build that investment process?
Man, it took us about a year, and it was very intentional. Like me and Kev, we really had like an idea of what we wanted the process to look like, but we didn't know what worked. And I think most people, when they get into wholesaling, especially people with money, that's probably the worst person to be, is a person with money. Yeah. Like, believe it or not. Because most people with money think that money is going to fix it. Yeah. Let's just throw more money at it. Yeah. That's the fastest way to go broke if you don't know. Yeah. And here's why. We're talking about people selling you and not selling. Look, if you hire a virtual assistant to do cold calling, you hire a virtual assistant to do anything that you don't know how to do, right? And you pay for a system. If the virtual assistant is not having success, you don't know if it's the system or the virtual assistant. Yeah. Because your system is not tried and true. Yeah. So me and Kevin, like, we wanted to test everything out. We wanted to try what worked, to figure it out, to dial it in, to know exactly what worked. So we were doing the cold calling. We were going to the appointments. So that's the only way we knew what was going to work. So we documented everything that worked, and then we hired to that. Yeah. So now we don't have to worry about fixing our system. It's a people problem. If they blame the system, we're like, no, that works. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's the difference between running a business and just being a salesperson. Being able to document it, train, manage others. What was some of your main marketing avenues? It sounds like you did some pay-per-click stuff. I know bandit signs were a big thing. I just remember seeing you guys on every corner in Oklahoma City. What were some of the main marketing channels that you were getting deals through in the very beginning?
Me and Kevin always made a joke, because that was always a question most investors asked us, right? When they sit down with us, like, how are you guys already getting so many deals? And we would always like take turns on who said it first, or we would like make a competition out of who said it first, and the other person would have no idea. And then we would say it's like a spider web, and they would really look at us like we're stupid, but we're serious. Because remember, we talk about impressions and what makes people make a decision. Well, you saw bandit signs a lot at first because we were branding the entire state or the city. Okay. And then we pulled back on bandits. Yeah. And now you don't see them. Well, that's intentional. It's not because we couldn't afford it. We went all in on branding. So we would pump out 1,000 bandit signs a month, minimum. You know, and we were pumping those out because we wanted people to be like, okay, we see them on the street. They may not know then. They may not call that bandit sign. But they're going to see us on social media. And then we're going to text them, and then we're going to be on the phone with them, and they're going to see us on social media again. Yeah. They're going to see us on the corner again. And it's like, oh, this company's huge. It was really about impressions. So, like, all of them worked. But the most, like, frequent was bandit signs is where we really went all in on. And then when we text them, cold called them, or anything else, it was just going to work. Yeah. They've seen us everywhere.
It was already a second or a third touch, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was the biggest thing, is branding. So honestly, one of the trial and true ways that works now is just like ringless voicemail stuff. You know what I'm saying? And text messaging.
I'm doing some of that. So it's funny you say that. When you guys, I mean, what year was that? 17?
No.
When did you start? When did you quit and start full time with
2019.
19. Oh,
Yeah.
dang. It feels like a lot longer ago.
Uh-huh.
So I remember until 2019, bandit signs are nothing new. But before then, at least my experience, all the ones I saw were like fake handwritten signs or actual handwritten signs. We'll buy house for cash, whatever. You were one of the first people, the first groups that I saw with an actual logo, little avatars on there. Like it was branding versus. Yeah. I feel like people were trying to, like, I'm just a normal guy writing signs in my garage, and when they were actually buying hundreds of houses, right? And they're not that, and they were trying to trick homeowners. And you guys went with a brand instead of a Sean buy houses or Brett buys houses or whatever it might be. And so that was interesting that it was intentional. So in the beginning, was most of the stuff inbound traffic through website or through cold calls, or was it outbound through cold calls?
It was mostly inbound stuff.
Okay.
I would say kind of 50-50 because we were doing a lot of cold calling until we scaled back from cold calling, right? Because we do cold calling now, but not as much. Well, they still do cold calling.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of it, but not as much now. But because we had to capture the people first. And now it's like, okay, I know who that company is, right? We imagine ourselves as like the Snickers or like the McDonald's or like and that's who we want it to be. So when they saw that brand, they're like, oh, I know who that is. Right?
Yeah, that's like I said, I think some people were trying to trick homeowners into thinking they were just a normal guy buying a house. And you kind of went with the let's build a brand with trust in the other direction, which was interesting. And I see more branded signs that are branded with logos versus less of the. Do you remember when I first got started? So this was probably in 2015 or 16. There was Chico buys houses.
I heard of them.
Do you remember this?
I remember them.
So it's kind of like they were everywhere for like, I can't remember the name of the company that backed it, but they were everywhere for a year and a half, 2 years, buying tons of wholesale deals, reselling deals, putting stuff out on the MLS, like everywhere. Everyone had done a deal with them. Wow. And then I don't know if they got into some other aspect of investing or stopped doing single family or what, but they were gone. But that was the only other one because they had a little Chihuahua with a sombrero.
I didn't know that. I had never seen that. That's cool.
On their bandit signs, and it was Chico buys houses, and it was one of the only ones that had a picture, a logo, something that you could see over and over again. Yeah. And I remember it. And you drive by hundreds of other buys houses signs. So what did you guys do? And I'm kind of talking in the wholesaling side now. What did you do to grow a buyer's list? I know you had a big out-of-state buyer's list, bigger than a lot of wholesalers starting out. How did you acquire a big buyer's list in the beginning? Because I've seen some strategies on that too, but what did you guys do?
We didn't dial it in until like 2 years ago on how to accurately get like active buyers. You know, at first we just went the route of skip tracing, prop stream, but what we didn't realize is that's old data, it's recycled data.
And you're just calling other homeowners that own rentals in the area?
Yes.
And calling them about your property? Okay.
Yes. But you can also skip cash buyers in prop stream. You can just pull a list of cash buyers, right? Yeah. But that's not accurate because you can sell a house in California, come here, got cash, buy it, but have no intent to buy another property.
Just a homeowner. And
it was a lot. It's like probably 80% of those people. So we had no idea, right? So that's how we were building it at first. Nowadays, we do it a little different, okay? Most times I'm trying to get active buyers. I'll go to the groups on Facebook and either make like a generic post like, hey, I'm looking to grow my cash buyers list. You're going to get all the active buyers. Or I teach some of my students to just, there's already 50 posts, somebody doing that. Go get those emails.
Go grab
build your list. Yes. I guarantee you those people want those deals. Yep. So anyway, that's how you get active buyers. You know, you go to those Facebook groups.
Yep. That's kind of what I was. How has Facebook changed? Because I see there's still a ton of emails going out when wholesalers lock up a property, they blast out their list. But I'll see an email come through and I'll see someone else post it on a Facebook group saying got this deal under contract. How much has Facebook changed the disposition side of it? Is it making it easier? Do you use it much anymore, or is it not?
It does.
You still go through your lists.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is like I've got students in like different states, right? So like if I'm trying to pitch a deal out, I'll probably still blast it out through a list. But now, like after years of being in wholesaling, you know who the buyers are. You know, and you know who your buyers are. You know, like one of them, Trent Braden, right? The Braden Group. You know the people who are going to buy. You know what areas are going to buy in. So once you get the experience, I just ring them up. You know, these guys they haven't stopped buying houses. Yeah. So you ring them up, see where they're going to be at, and lock the deal up with somebody who's real versus blasting it on Facebook. Possibly getting your deal stole. Remember I told you about that one? Had somebody go out to a property because he wanted to go out to the property, and he was on our list, went out to the property, and tried to get the deal under contract. So when you're posting a deal on Facebook, like you have to be careful because people will go stab you in the back for $5,000. You know?
Yeah.
So
And this is something I heard during 2020, 2021, and the first half of 22, you couldn't sell enough houses. I mean, everyone was buying them. Big institutional investors, regional investors, people coming from New York's, California's, the coasts, all buying Oklahoma properties. And I noticed a lot of email blasts going out, kind of dipped. And I talked to a couple people, and they said every time they get a wholesale, they send it to like 4 guys, and one of those 4 guys always buys it. They don't even have to blast it out anymore. Did you guys get hooked up with any people that just bought everything you sent them?
yes.
Did you experience some of those buyers? And are
absolutely.
they gone now, I guess?
They've got more conservative.
Okay.
But they're not gone. You know, like one of them is REI. You know.
Okay, yeah.
Those guys, we knew. I mean, there's companies out there like that they have a requirement in terms of
How many they have to.
have to buy. So, I mean, you can get creative. You know, if it's the end of the month
Yeah.
and they haven't met their quota, you can ask for more money on your wholesale deal, and they'll lock it up. You know, beginning of the month or not.
Yeah.
And we noticed those trends too. Me and Kevin were like, dude, he
That's
locked his house
awesome.
up on the 10th for this. Same exact formula, same exact neighborhood. He locked it up for 10 grand more on the 21st. Okay, cool. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to not send the deal to him until the end of the month.
Yeah.
You know, so you start noticing all that. But yes, to answer your question, yes,
Yeah.
man. We did experience that.
That's
Absolutely.
funny. So we had a relationship with REI for a little bit there too, and they are truly an institutional buyer where they've got levels of management, they've got ownership, and if they weren't taking down 30 deals in this market, the owner of the company's calling the guy and saying, hey, how come we can't buy more deals? And so yeah, they would rather take a tiny margin but hit their every time. So that's interesting. That's funny that you guys started to learn that with certain ones. So you guys started wholesaling for a while, which I think, so I'm an investor as well. People kind of ask me how to get into it. It's you can get into it with no money down. It's very difficult. No experience, no money down, no sales experience. It's very, very, very difficult.
Absolutely.
Wholesaling is a good way to get in the door because you don't have to have actual cash, but you need to have some sales skills and you got to pound the pavement a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the best thing someone can do before they get into real estate investing is have a pretty decent income. If you can't, it makes it more difficult. But if you got a good income, you know, $70,000 to $100,000+ a year, you can kind of float some stuff. And so you guys kind of, I know you had those at the other job, but you guys kind of had the wholesaling originally. And then at one point I was talking with you and you flipped and you said, okay, this year we really want to start acquiring these properties and not wholesaling them. When did you kind of make the switch to wanting to start to build the portfolio versus just the income versus the wealth, I guess, if that makes sense. When did you make that switch?
Man, we always wanted to own them. You know, but when something about my old business partner that I love about that guy is he's very methodical. And both of us like sat down and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to roll this business out in phases. I think I talked to you about this a little bit. Phase 1, wholesale, get our money up. Phase 2, rental properties. Phase 2, fix and flip. Phase 3, rentals. So it was always then commercial and all that stuff, but we never made it there. But you know, but it was always to hold. We always wanted to be an acquisitions company. That was the end game. That was the end game. But we had to get our money up. But what we didn't know is that learning wholesale first made everything so much easier. Because you know that. When you can identify a deal, you can decide what you want to do with it. Do I want to wholesale it? Do I want to fix and flip it? Do I want to turn it into a rental property? Whatever. So after wholesaling, making money, and seeing so many guys go out and add to their portfolio, me and him be like, dang. Like we would drive by neighborhoods like, dang, dude. Look how much it's appreciated. Look how much this is. We gave away all these, you know, we made $10K. In 2021, we were averaging like 17 to 20K at wholesale.
Yeah, I believe that.
And we were locking up like 20 to 30 deals a month. I mean, dude, we made a lot of freaking money.
Yeah.
But what do we have to show for it? A nice bank account, but now you can't go buy that same property, especially with interest rates rising. So, of course, we didn't know this was going to happen, but we were just giving away so many deals in 2019, 2020, got to mid-2020, and we're like, all right, dude, we need to start buying them. We need to start holding them because our bank account is fine now. Our family's good. Let's start buying some real estate. So
the other thing I see, people who can have success, you know, all the people I know that have good, large portfolios all have that front end wholesale aspect, either training or they have a wholesaling arm to their business. Because the number one thing about investing is deal flow. So if you've got that wholesaling arm or experience or skills or whatever, you constantly got deals to look at. And that's what I was seeing. I was seeing other investors wholesale deals, and what I was realizing is they might see 10 deals a month. They'll keep 2, and they'll sell the other 8 off. Not because they're not deals, but they cherry pick the 2 they wanted. And then I'm getting the stuff they don't want. It's still good, but it's not. They don't want it. And so that's one thing that I've always wish I had done a little more on the front end. I just never wanted to wholesale. I never had the time to learn it. Never went down that path. As an investor who buys from wholesalers, I know they're keeping stuff, and so there's value in starting with that wholesale.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then when you build that machine, and it's like, okay, I can make 10, 15, 20 grand now, or I can keep it and make 200, 300, 400 a month. It's probably tough to give up that 20 grand now and go with the rental. Yeah. So, and I also like what you said, going from wholesale to fix and flip. It's a different exit strategy, but there's more money in it, more work, but you're getting some of the rental property ownership experience.
Yeah.
And then you still got that payday on the end. Because again, I think rental properties, a lot of people get into rental properties and think I'm going to buy 2 or 3 or 4 and I'm going to quit my job. And it doesn't quite work like that. And so I think flipping is a good stair step into rental properties.
1,000%. 1,000%. I agree with you. I mean, because, leaving that, going into a fix and flip and then trying to transfer over to rental, if you just start out trying to buy rentals, it's fine. Like you said, if you got the steady income, it's important to have. But, dude, you could be making $200 a month, and then the AC unit goes out, and it wipes your cash flow for 2 years. So exactly it's like, so you really need to know more, obviously. So
that's what. So this is my personal experience here. So take it for whatever it's worth. I went through a period, again, had a good income, had a bunch of money saved away, had access to finances, line of credit kind of stuff. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go on a buying spree. I did the same thought process you had. Like my first 4 or 5 years in the real estate industry, I would analyze all these deals because I knew I wanted to invest.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, that's not really a deal. That's not really a deal. That's not really a deal. And 2, 3 years later, I'm thinking, God, if I own those, they were all home runs.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 20/20. So now my thought is time, depending on your time horizon, time can turn any deal into a good deal. You hold it long enough.
Amen, dude.
So that's kind of my thought is, okay, I'm just going to start buying now.
Yep.
I've got the ability, the funds, I can do it. I'm going to start buying and then hold them as long as I can. And so I started buying them, and I started realizing, too, everyone who buys all these big portfolios also wholesales and also flips, because acquiring property and managing and holding property all costs money.
Yeah.
And you kind of need that cash machine to kick out funds to fuel this rental buying machine.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. I kind of grew a big portfolio and then ran out of cash. It's like, I'm done buying now, but I don't want to sell any of them because I worked really hard for them. And so that's kind of what I'm learning now is I'm getting more into, I'm still buying rentals, but I'm also going to buy one, flip one, buy one, flip one, buy 2, flip one, whatever it might be, just to keep cash flow coming in. Because when you're, again, new investors don't know all the math involved in it, I guess, but there's acquisition cost on every single thing. Every renovation budget goes over. There's refinance costs going on. ACs break the minute a tenant moves in. There's make-readies, vacancies, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so when you're buying a lot, that stuff all adds up, and you're not cash flow positive for a year on your portfolio or something. So that's something for my experience is do something. If you're real estate investing, do something that generates cash flow and builds wealth. Do both.
Absolutely.
Don't do one or the other, I think.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people may miss when looking at this video is that I had wholesale as that, and you were a real estate agent.
Real estate sales, yeah.
So, I mean, you still had that income, So, anyway, I think that's a major thing for people not to miss.
I would look at people all the time who are like full-time investors.
Yep.
Their job is real estate investing. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How are you doing? And then you realize, okay, they're building a portfolio, but they're not living on their portfolio. They're living on their wholesales, their flips, their refinance, pull cash out, that kind of stuff. So you kind of grow to a point where you scale like, okay, I don't know what to do now, and then you see what other people are doing. Then you start doing that, and then that's where coaching is, I think, so important too. But that's kind of again my own 2 cents of what someone should be doing. So I'm kind of starting to take my own advice now and try to mix in my investment strategies, not just all flipping, not just all buy and holds. When you were getting started in your investing, did you work with, I know you did some meetups, masterminds. Did you guys have like coaches on like marketing or wholesaling coaches, or do you have now? Did you just kind of figure it out?
Yeah, so we listened to one dude, Kevin listened to a guy named Sean Terry.
Okay.
And then he told me to start listening to his podcast. He's a guy out of Phoenix.
Okay.
And all we did was listen to a podcast. And we started putting it into play.
Okay.
But again, we had the marketing experience. I was the area sales manager of this company, and he was my manager. So he was the division sales manager is what they called it. Yeah, division sales manager. Yeah. And so he was right under the vice president of the president of our division.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, dude, his role, you know how big his role was huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but he ran marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you get marketing and you get sales, man, and you get into a world like wholesaling,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
opportunity.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
It's gonna
because
happen.
there's so many deals and opportunity out there.
Mhm.
So if you can just find a niche or find some avenue or method to acquire them, yeah, that's huge. So you started out with a partner in real estate investing.
Yep.
After 3 years, I guess 4 years, you're now out on Tez buys houses.
Yep.
So what was the thought process to go out on your own, and are you doing anything differently, or do you have different strategies, or what are you doing now with Tez buys houses?
Honestly, my business partner and I, we grew together, but in the sales environment, man, we were both like lions. Like, make no mistake, like we really know our stuff, and we're really, really strong headed. And that can, I mean, it can work really good, or it could not. And one thing that my business partner and I developed was a friendship through business. And I think before you go into business with your friend, you need to have a business relationship first, because when it's time to make a tough decision like we had to make last year, it's a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Right? The only reason we're friends is because of business.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be friends. And I think that could look or sound bad to the wrong person, but the truth of the matter, that was the truth, right? So we started to scale, and we've been scaling, and it's been awesome. And I started to post some of the stuff we were doing on social media. And my social media exploded, just literally overnight. I posted some content to TikTok, and it blew up. All millions of views and all that stuff. And I was like, and everybody in the comments was like, hey, would you teach me? All these people. So a light bulb turned on, and I was like, maybe we can coach. You know, that's the way I thought about it. I have more of like an abundant mindset where I saw it as a huge opportunity, not only for revenue, not only to help teach people how to scale and be greater and learn something awesome, but also deal flow.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can create an ecosystem of deals, which I've already bought deals for my students. Like, I posted stuff on social media, and that's the way I saw it. I was like, hey, we're spending $10,000 to $12,000 a month in marketing. If we can cut that in half and have students bringing us deals, hundreds of people throughout the U.S., we JV them up before they realize, okay, I can sell them I can find a buyer. Maybe we're buying them. Maybe we're fixing to flip them. We're doing all those things, because that's what an ecosystem of students can create. And my partner at the time saw it as we're creating competition. And those two mind frames, I'm more of like, go huge, go big, go large.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, dude, let's stay small until we grow there. And make no mistake, that dude is a genius, and he's smart. He's going to continue to be great. But that's where the roads kind of crossed, because I got him on board once I started talking more about it. He got on board. He was actually on board. Remember, we were
you guys were starting to do it.
Started to do it.
Yeah.
But I could tell it's not where he was only doing it because
you wanted to do it.
Yeah, because I wanted to do it.
Yeah,
his heart wasn't in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, if you and I line up, on a football field, it don't take long to see whose heart's not in it.
Yeah.
And then you start looking at the other guy like, like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Show up. And more things are going to be important if your heart's not in it.
Yeah.
That's the truth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the things that were important that was distracting him away from being who I needed him to be for this coaching, I didn't see as important.
Yeah.
And so I was like, look, dude, before it hurts our relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of people will stay in that.
Until they get
resentment. And I'm like, look, I have a window. And I've got to go. I've got to jump through it. So I've got to go. And dude, he was so loving. He's like, man, I completely understand. Like, it's all good. I feel you. I'm with you. So we're still good, man. And so now in Tez Buys Houses, we still have the wholesaling sector. But honestly, my marketing is a lot lower because I have students sending me deals that I analyze, help them JV up on them and pitch them out. So I'd say that's the biggest difference in implementing coaching on how to wholesale in my business versus just, spending money on marketing and hiring VAs. And I still do that.
Yeah.
I got like 4 VAs now. But anyway, that's the biggest difference between Tez and local guys.
Okay. So it was a different strategy almost a different strategy on acquisition. Added revenue, but that's something. I know you follow Pace Morby a ton. I've heard him talk a bunch about his free Facebook group he has that he runs, and I don't even know if he does coaching, does he? He just kind of does he? Okay.
Yeah.
So he puts tons of stuff out just on his Facebook and creates a following.
Yep.
And then I think he said he hadn't had to pay for a deal in forever, marketing wise, because he has so many students bringing stuff to him.
Deals.
And so it's like, if I can do 10 a month by myself or 30 a month that I split, I think I'm better off, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a different strategy.
Yeah,
but that's an interesting, and you can leverage social media, your presence, your content on all that. So that's interesting. So what is your kind of deal split now if you've been doing it long enough to have percentages? How much is like Tez Buys Houses procuring versus like JV deals coming in from clients or from students? What's that like? Is it pretty mixed or?
Man, it's going to make you laugh. So I'd say my percentage is probably like 70-30, 70 heavy on coaching students bringing me deals.
Okay.
And I would say 30 from us acquiring.
Okay.
But I also seen a video where a guy was like, about 80% of percentages are made up on the spot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
there's a little bit of that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like accurate or not, so I don't want to lie, but that's just me shooting.
You feel like the majority of students?
I would definitely say majority is from students, absolutely, because they're sending me. I mean, my phone's buzzing now, and they send deals all day long.
Yeah,
you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So how many students are you up to now in your coaching program?
I have 118 in my large group coaching, and I have 11 or 9 in my small group mastermind coaching.
Okay, that's awesome. And that's where you got the Zoom calls and the private groups and stuff. And so they're doing what you're training, and they're going out and finding stuff.
Yes, sir.
And you're saying you need to get it at this number, or it's not a deal, or whatever, and then you're seeing what can get done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's just another form of leverage. I think it's a great idea. It's a different strategy.
Definitely.
But it's probably less predictable maybe.
Yeah.
And I could see Kevin being more like, I want to know. I want to put $1 in and get $2 out. And I want to know it.
100%.
And so I could see that.
You cannot predict a viral video.
Right? Yeah. Or you can't predict 20 people going to do something that you tell them to.
Yep.
I learned that on the brokerage side. I can tell people what to do until I'm blue in the face. They don't go do it. Have you gotten much other than like recognition and exposure for coaching clients and stuff? Have you gotten like deals come through social media? Like someone's like, "Hey man, I'm not a coaching student or whatever, but what do you think of this deal?" Or you want to or stuff like that. What opportunities come through social media other than coaching?
Yeah, man, a lot.
Okay.
A lot, because there's a lot of people out there who don't want to pay for coaching, or they don't know how much it is, but they'll take the bits and pieces that you put in your videos and social media, and they go take action. Yeah. I love those people. And those are the people I'm down. I mean, if you send me a deal and it's a deal, hey, about this, I'll walk you through how to do it.
Yeah.
And we JV it. Right? I'll tell you how to do it. You'll get my contract. Y'all, bring me a deal. Let's talk about it. Yeah. So lots of people actually send from different states, Atlanta, Georgia, New York, because you're reaching so many people. And it's like, the JV opportunity, the joint venture opportunity is so large, but I get a lot of people from out of state, opportunities I never would have had before because of my social media.
I've also noticed recently, you've been, I think the last couple of months, you've bounced around to a couple of different bigger conferences. You went to Ed Milet's house. That was freaking
crazy.
Cool.
That was so crazy. Yeah.
Has that been valuable? Has stuff come of that, or has it just been kind of cool? So, like, has that resulted in anything yet?
Yeah, man. So I'm one of those dudes. Like, until last year, I didn't do those conferences. I saw them as just like a novelty, or like I just saw it as being cool.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
But I'm like, okay, I'm linking up with Ed Milet in Cali, but how's it going to help me in Oklahoma in my market? Right.
Exactly.
That's the way I saw it at first. But honestly, it does so much for like what I call social proof.
Okay.
Right. So like, you see me hanging out with Ed Milet, and it's like, oh, dude, my phone was blowing up after like people they validate who you are based on who you're with.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. So going to those conferences and being in those rooms, I also make connections with guys in other markets that I can now bring to Oklahoma and do like speaking events and things like that because I was there. I was in that room.
Yeah.
And there's something Pace talks about a lot, and that's proximity.
Yeah.
Dude, the power of proximity. Like just being in a room, deals are going to fly. You know? And so being in the room with next level people, next level stuff happens, man.
Yeah. And I'm kind of been the same way. I've been always hesitant to travel to the Inman conferences and the investing conferences and blah, blah, blah. There's been a flood of events locally the last 8 months or so. I've tried to go to a bunch of those just because I like to hear what other people are doing. But I've kind of been the same thing. It's like, how is going to this dude in California going to help me here? It's different. But I think you're right. I think there's activity, there's emotion tied to that. I think there's momentum tied to that. A bunch of stuff. It's something I wanted to do for a while, but just never have.
Yep.
So, Pace Morby talks a ton about subject to stuff. I want to jump into that a little bit. It's something that I know you've been real heavy on recently with rates going crazy and everything like that. So, tell me, 30 seconds, explain what subject to is, and then what are some deals? Give me an example of a deal you've done, because I have an understanding of what it is. Never real world. I texted you the other day and asked
Yeah.
about a deal and saw what you
Oh,
thought
yeah, I
about
remember
it.
that. Yeah.
Give me a breakdown of what it is, and then maybe give me an example of one that you've recently. You said you're doing one
I'm
now.
doing one right now, dude. It's exciting. So, subject to is the term subject to is basically an agreement subject to the existing mortgage. And I mean, there's so many terms out there in the investing world. Subject to, you can paint as so many different things, and it'll ring a bell for a lot of investors. When they hear subject to, they're like, oh, what is this? It's an owner finance.
Okay.
Right, it's a contract for deed. You can paint it in so many different ways because that essentially that's what it is. But you have creative finance and you got subject to, and you also have seller finance underneath that same umbrella. So like a subject to is just you purchasing the home subject to that existing mortgage in place.
Okay.
And the most recent deal I can use as an example is a guy here locally in one of our most like popular areas in Oklahoma near downtown in Lincoln Terrace. The house is at least worth $450,000. He has it listed for $431,000. He's dropped price multiple times and it just won't move. He can't get out of this property, but he needs out. He needs to move on so he can go buy something else more closer in his price range and just move on to the next steps of his life. So because of social media, I made a post about a subject to that I bought in Edmond. This dude reached out. He's like, hey, I see you just closed on a subject to deal. I've had all these gurus and all these people hit me up about subject to. He's a listing agent and the owner. And he's like, but I don't trust anybody, man. I know you're here. I know who you are. People talk about you. So on social media.
Yeah.
People talk about you. So I wanted to talk to you. Dude, and he hit me up. And I started talking. I looked at the numbers. And the beautiful thing about a subject to is right now with us coming in purchasing, let's say we were to purchase the same house, our interest rate is going to be 6.5%, right? His is 3.3%. It's half of what we would be paying essentially. So with that interest rate being so low, his payment is only $2,600. This property, because of its location, I talked about it being in downtown. This property can be a corporate rental for a doctor, a traveling nurse. It's right by OU Medical Center, which is one of our largest hospital here, and it just has so many opportunities. Currently, it's an Airbnb for him, and he doesn't live there. He actually lives in an apartment. So this is an additional payment that he just wants to get rid of. He doesn't even live there. So this property, the way him and his wife sees it is like, we need to get rid of this thing, right? We need to get it out of here. So anyway, he has a 3.3% interest rate. Purchase prices for me is going to be $431,000. Okay, and his equity position is only about $30,000. Now, this property, again, because of its location, has been rented out consistently on Airbnb.
Okay, so you saw some history of it.
Yeah, I saw some history. He even showed me his calendar yesterday when we sat down at Starbucks, and it's booked. Half of March is already booked up.
That's awesome.
So I have an option. I can either owner finance this to a doctor or a nurse or somebody, and take a big down payment. Or I could just turn it into an Airbnb like he already has it. And it's cash flow. It's going to be cash flow positive for me for over, $1,000, $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
And that's several rental properties.
Yeah.
Had I not. So because of subject to, I came in, and I'm going to dive into that. I came in and made him an offer. He actually hit me up, but I made the offer. And I'm like, hey, this is where we'd be. So let's agree at the $30,000.
Yeah. Because that's his equity, but that's what he has in equity.
Exactly.
So he wants that in cash.
He wants that, and then I'll take over your payments with the bank.
Okay.
So now you no longer worry about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of concerns, a lot of red flags people are probably hearing right now, but I guarantee you there's documents to protect you as the buyer.
Yeah.
Power of attorney, all those things. Talk to the insurance company, talk to the mortgage company, all that stuff. Put your payment information on with the bank as the primary account, so it's coming out of your account every month, and you're not trusting as a seller with the money. There's many of ways to protect yourself in these transactions. Now, something you can protect yourself from is due on sale,
right?
Which a lot of people complain about and stuff like that. But that's a whole nother conversation. I always come back with an argument of how many banks are going to foreclose on a performing loan.
Right.
We're not missing payments. They're not going.
It's expensive to foreclose.
It's expensive to foreclose. Besides, opposed to just keep taking the money.
For anyone listening, due on sale is a clause in mortgages that say, if you do anything against what we allow, we're going to make it due. We're going to make you pay us back. But if you just say no, they have to foreclose on you.
Yep.
And they won't. And that's what I've heard Pace talk about. He's been doing it for however many years. He's had one even attempt to do it, and then when they talked to him, they didn't do it. So sorry.
No, it's okay. I like that. No, I like that because Pace is a proven. I mean, I've done like 6 or 7 subs, but that dude is doing them on apartment buildings and freaking commercial buildings,
$1.5 million personal house,
business, all kind of stuff, dude. And I mean, I saw a story of a guy who bought his property, a $2 million house, on subject to.
Yeah.
and lives in it now. So like that's my goal. I want to go buy me a mansion in Gallardi on freaking Subject 2, right? Creative finance or something like that, because it'll surprise you how many opportunities it opens. And I don't even think I'll ever go back to traditional form of like buying property. I really don't think so.
Yeah,
it's way too much red tape.
Yeah,
and here I don't need any credit, and I got I'm looking for a private money lender, which I will find one to fund that $30K, so I can be into this deal for no money and $1,500 in cash flow.
Yeah.
That's a long topic.
That's what I want to. So what's the risk? So the risk to you is going to be a due on sale clause.
Yep.
Everything else is in your control.
Yep. Aside from like tenants tearing up the house, which that's on me, but you do that with even.
Yeah, that exists in a normal rental. So
yep.
So really the risk is a due on sale clause. In which case, you just sell it or you let them go through that process. The risk to the seller I think exists. And so kind of walk me through what you explained to them, because you're essentially, it's still on the note still exists in their name. It's still their credit and stuff like that. So I think they probably carry a little bit more risk. Yeah. But this guy you're telling me about, he's an investor. He's a licensed agent. So he's not like some dum-dum that you tricked into this, right? So what is the risk to the seller, and how do you mitigate that?
Yeah, man. So like, first of all, you need to know what you're talking about.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. Don't just wing it. You need to educate yourself. And that's why guys like Pace Morby, like, and I hate to keep plugging him. He's probably got plugged like 1,000 times in the video. But Pace is somebody who freaking charges you close to 10 grand for his coaching. Okay. And his biggest thing is, okay, if I give you these documents and you screw up, they're going to ask you where you got those documents.
Oh, yeah, liability.
Yeah. So, and it makes sense. If it's a sales tactic or not, it makes sense. I'm not going to give you this document to go out and screw somebody over. Right? Yeah. So he charges you a lot of money for his coaching, and you should. So this guy, like you said, licensed agent, he's also a police officer, man. Yeah. Like he's not, he's skeptical of people. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So like, so to lock him up over a deal like this, like, it has to make sense. And if it makes sense to him, he's like, I'm not worried about doing so. Yeah. I understand that they won't. Yeah. Right? He gets that. So they do absorb risk. And the risk is the due on sale clause. But if you sell the property, again, you'd be protected. But the biggest thing when talking to them is earning trust, being transparent, knowing what the documents say, having a track record, and I go back, just be educated. Yeah. Because if you don't, it's going to fall out right in front of you. They're going to ask you those tough questions. And you're going to, or if you just wing it, they're going to go find out. Yeah. They're going to call somebody like me or like you or somebody who freaking knows it. And we're going to tell them the truth and get the deal. So
what happens if you stop paying? Like I said, I think there's risk to the seller. But like, say you're like, oh man, this property's not as good as I thought. Keep my 30 grand. I'm done with it. He just takes it back and then uses that 30 grand to continue to service the debt, or like. Yeah. So tell me, what if you walk away from it? What happens?
Yeah, man. So he absorbs that. Okay. And that's a question he asked me yesterday. Like, what happens if you just leave? And I was honest with them. Your credit will take a hit. This is the agreement that we're making. If you
stop making payments.
If I stop making payments, that could happen. You could definitely do that, but I need you to know and trust that I won't do that. Like, I have everything right on this. And you know what his motivation was? And for him to believe me? My brand. Who I am.
He's seen you around.
He's seen me. He's like, yeah, I know you wouldn't want your personal brand to take a hit. Yeah. Back to social media. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, that's he's like, yeah, I get on social media and tell everybody that you didn't do. I was like, yeah, and he made a joke about it. Yeah. But that's literally his insurance. Yeah. That's his insurance. And all it takes is
one guy doing it, and everyone's like, oh, yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So still you give him that 30 grand.
He keeps that 30.
So that's 30. He's got some cushion, some insulation. If that happens, so you walk away. So he's got your 30 grand and the property back. Yeah, essentially.
Absolutely. And I told him, anybody, I go as far as, if you want my accountant after they make that payment, I'll send you a receipt every month if you want.
Yeah, just to be that way it won't get out of hand.
There you go.
Back payments.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want that receipt every month, I'll send it. That's your confidence. Because by the 3rd, you're going to know if I made that payment, or by the 5th, you're going to know.
Yeah. And his contact information is probably with the mortgage company, so he's probably going to get. Yeah. Do you forward the statements to you?
Everything.
Okay, so everything forwards to you. Okay, so you tell them. So you get a third party power of attorney with the mortgage company, so that you can talk on his behalf.
Authorization to release information.
Yeah.
Yep,
okay.
To release information. Yep. Third party authorization to release information. Get the loan number, all that good stuff. And my girl over at Title Chicago, dude, she handles everything. She knows this stuff now, and
that's awesome.
Gets it done.
So I think maybe to mitigate a seller's risk, they just need to figure out what down payment they want to make them comfortable with it. What down payment would be enough for you to be comfortable with me, that if I happen to walk away, you got enough money to make it worth the headache.
Yeah.
I guess that would be, if I'm a seller,
Yeah.
that's the way I'm thinking through
Yep.
it. So that's one you're working through now. You've got, you said 6, I think. 6 you've got right
Yeah.
now currently.
Mm-hmm.
And they're cash flowing. Are they all long-term rentals, or are they
They're all
short-term?
long-term.
They're all
Yep.
long-term.
This
And
is my
flowing.
first short term that I'm doing. Yeah, they're all
Okay.
cash flowing.
And they're cash flowing.
Yeah.
So you're buying, are all of these with private money and sub-2, or are some of them cash out of pocket and sub-2? Like
Some of them, depending on the motivation of the people, no money.
They
Some
won't
people
ask
don't
for
even
any.
want a down payment.
they just want out of the
Yeah, it's all
debt.
about when you talk to them. It's like, this is what we're going to do. And I don't even say, I used to say typically, my first 2, I made a mistake. I say a mistake. My first 2, in order for it to be lucrative to the seller, always came off promising way too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's
Just
just
to
like
get
a
it done,
wholesale.
yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
get the deal. It's
Yeah.
just like a wholesale, it's just like a cash purchase, just like anything, man.
Mhm.
If they have the motivation, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't have to convince them.
Yeah.
Some people have money, man. Like, some people have money. I got a guy out in McLeod right now I'm working on. He's got 12 acres, farmland. He's got money. He wants to go live with this girl in the Philippines that he met
Nice.
on social media.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And
right.
he wants no money. He's like, I got cash. I just need to make sure that my credit don't take a hit for me to move. 12 acres, man. I mean,
Dang.
and you know how expensive land is.
Yeah.
And he wants to sell it for like $8,000 an acre or something crazy.
And you've got that one now currently.
I'm working on it.
Working on that
I'm
one.
working on
That's
him,
an
trying to
interesting
figure
one.
out what he needs. And he's like, I don't need money.
Yeah.
Even every time I bring it up. So I'm like, let me shut up.
Yeah. Quit
When I talk to
offering
people,
money.
Yeah, stop
Quit-
offering money.
quit
Because my
offering.
pitch typically is like, hey, Brett, you got this house. And I've already pitched cash. Cash doesn't
Yeah.
work. Already pitched listing doesn't work. Okay, I get it. Look, here's what we're going to do. So typically what we do is we come in and we pay a reasonable amount down. Reasonable, I felt good about saying reasonable because I still wasn't saying that amount.
Subjective. Yeah.
Yeah. We pay a reasonable amount down and we take over your monthly payments. How does that sound? First question that person's going to ask is, what's my down payment?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you think?
what do you need? Yeah.
What do you
want?
need?
Yeah.
What do you want? And they're
Yeah.
like, well, I want. So then I have to go look at their equity, look what they're trying to sell the property for, and say, what if I just paid you your equity? Because that's what you would make anyway.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm committing to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, which is okay.
Yeah.
But you got to go find private money lenders if you don't have that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
I like that approach, taking what their equity is, because it's what they would have gotten anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that approach, and that again, that equity still exists.
mm-hmm.
If you walk away for whatever reason, that equity's
Mhm.
still there. All I have to do is take back possession. Is there any kind of like document you sign at closing that they can take possession back in the event of a default, or how would they take possession back?
Yeah, man. So I mean, honestly, they would
Do
have
they
to
file a
foreclose.
deed?
Yeah, they file a deed.
So
they would have
you're
to
in
foreclose.
ownership.
Yeah.
Okay,
They would
so
have
they
to
would-
foreclose.
You
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
Or get you to just sign if you
Or
want
give me
to
the sign,
it
sign a
back
quick
over.
claim.
Yeah,
quick
okay.
claim the deed back over to him.
And if you're walking away, surely you would. Unless you're
Do
just a
that.
bad guy,
Right,
Yeah,
right. You would
just-
definitely
yeah.
sign that quick claim
Yeah,
deed.
if
right?
you were wanting to get out of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you what the cop he came. I just don't want to say his name. I hate to say the cop,
Yeah.
but I just don't want to say his name. But that guy, he was very smart. What he said was, he goes, "Hey, how about we do a deed in lieu
Mhm.
of?"
Okay.
So basically, he does want an agreement that says, "Hey, deed in lieu of." So if
So he
you
can just go
don't
file it if you
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I've got a client that does a lot of. It's kind of a mix between seller finance and lease purchase,
Mhm.
and so when he gives it to them, he makes them sign a deed at closing, and he's not going to file it unless they default. So then they don't have to go through the foreclosure process. You just sign it back over to me, and now you have to get out. And
Gotcha.
so there's some trust to make sure they didn't just go file it.
Yeah.
But you get it done up front. I've had hard money lenders do that to me.
Hmm.
Make me sign it so that if I ever default on it or something, they just go file it and they take possession of back. So that is probably a good, if there's mutual trust there,
Yeah, exactly.
then it can be a good tool.
Yep.
I think I told you I kind of grew my portfolio really big. I ran out of cash. I got to a point where I think a lot of investors get, where they grow, they run out of cash, and then I didn't get to a point to figure out what the next step is. How do I innovate, or how do I get creative to get to that next step of my investing, because I'm out of cash now. And that's where I realized people start flipping, people start doing private money, that kind of thing. But right when I got there, 2021 hit, prices were through the roof. I just kind of stopped buying altogether. I've struggled making deals work with private money. Do you just have to get it at enough discount so that with that private money you can get them paid back and paid off, and your normal debt, and it still cash flows? Or is it just gonna be skinny while you have that private money until you can refinance?
That's
what's
what
your
it is.
Okay, so it's just
It's
gonna
be skinny
Okay.
until you get out of that high interest rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not looking at cash flow on day one. You're looking to get it, figure out what you can do, and then refinance that private money out
Yep.
to permanent financing.
Yep.
Okay.
On subject 2 is different though.
Okay.
So Yes, on traditional rental, yes. But my deal that I have with the guy I was talking about, I'm going to pay someone 10% interest only payments for however long they want to keep that money there, because it's going to get them 10% that their bank's not going to get them. Right? Nothing. So they're not going to earn that.
Not the stock market, nothing.
Right.
Not
so with, exactly, I can even go to 12 because my cash flow's there. So so with this one, if a lender comes in, and this is freaking how Pace is scaled so rapidly. Because it just makes sense. If the interest rate is there, it's like, okay, Brett, you got 30 grand in the bank. Okay. How about I take your 30 grand, you secure it by real estate, because they will have a lien position on the property. Right? You secure it by real estate, take this 30, and I'll pay you 10% interest only payments, annualized. So every month you're making $250. Sure, that's not a ton of money, but it's more than your 30's making you at the bank. So you might as well take that $250.
It's interest only. The principal's not being paid down.
Not being attacked.
I owe that principal still.
Exactly. So if it's an 18-month term with a balloon, I can have another private money lender come in and take your position out, and you're done. But most people are not going to want to come take that 30.
They'll just let you
They're just let you keep it. Like, okay, well, just hold it, because it's going to be, and so if you came in with 100, that same 10%, of course. So, dude, as you scale, because my payment again is only $2,700. On a bad month, this guy is making $4,500 as an Airbnb.
Yeah, dang.
He's willing to leave all the furniture behind for me.
That's huge.
Yeah. So
like
it's like
8 or 10 grand.
Yeah, 20.
Yeah.
Because it sleeps 11 people.
Oh, damn. Okay.
It's got a basement.
That's pretty good.
So it's like, okay, because Airbnb goes off of how many you sleep.
Right.
Dude, Lincoln Terrace sleeping 11 people.
Yeah.
Dude, he showed me on his phone.
That's pretty good.
This past weekend, he charged a guy $280 a night. Damn. For 2 nights, he made $680 after Airbnb took their fee and everything.
Man, I had one down there, and I was getting like $80 a night across the highway in Heritage. And it was small. It wasn't 11 people, but dang, that's a lot. That's awesome.
That's what I was thinking. But during the week, it's going like 180. But it was a weekend, so it was Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
But still, I mean,
jeez,
dude,
that's nice.
So
okay, so, and again, if you got a private lender and they're giving you money and you're making all your payments, they're just going to keep letting it roll with you, because it's free money for them. Not free money, but it's consistent. It's predictable money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's you and your private money guy were borrowing the studio a couple of weeks ago, and I met him, and I kind of had some questions, because that's been my biggest thing. I'll find, just being a real estate broker, real estate investor, or connections with wholesalers, I get decent deal flow. The deals aren't smoking, but it's like I just don't want to deploy this cash on an okay deal. But if I'm deploying someone else's cash on an okay deal, and I can just weather it for 18 months and then refi it, then you can start to acquire more properties or properties faster.
Of course.
Are you normally doing 8 to 12% on a 6, 12, 18 month? Like, what's on a private lender? What
on the private lender, so on like...
do they all kind of have their own terms they want?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of them.
Yeah.
You remember Scott Henderson?
Yeah.
You know Scott Henderson?
He's an agent, and
he just loaned me some money. He just loaned me $123K on a deal. And his terms are no payments monthly, which is amazing, but he collects it at closing. So it's a flip for me. It's a 6-month loan.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. So it's only on flip properties.
It's only on flips,
yeah.
but like a sub-2 is different, right? That's a more long term. But since this is a short term, same with Roshan. He does the same thing. No monthly payments. Scott wants 3 points down. He adds it to the loan.
So you don't have to bring anything.
So I don't have to bring anything to close. That's the thing. They get it. So if you have the right lender, like Scott used to invest. Scott was one of my number one buyers when I was wholesaling.
Yeah.
And now he's like, yo, Tez. Like, he knows me from the business. So he's like, I'm just give you the money. Anyway. So he wants 3 points down, 11% interest, annualized.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, not much there.
Is that who you told me used to be an investor and sold everything and just does lending now?
No, that's someone else.
That's a different guy.
Yeah, older guy.
When you told me that, I was like, that's interesting. Because, I mean, you're still taking on risk, but you're not doing any of the work. And you're getting you're getting like half the return, but you're not doing any of the work.
That's the spot to be in.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's the spot.
Yeah, because if you're an investor, most private lenders, private money guys are investors too, so they can look at a deal and think, okay, unless Tez really screws this up, he's gonna make some money on this, so I'll give you the deal. And he knows you've done dozens, hundreds. So that's interesting. Yeah, because most of those guys are investors. They're gonna run their own comps. They're gonna look at their own construction stuff. They're gonna make sure. That's interesting. I've just never I've never had to, and that's not a good excuse. I probably should look at doing private money.
You know a lot of people
stuff.
with money, man.
Yeah, just because I just use my own money, and that's probably dumb, because I'll get in a point where I've got 3 or 4 jobs going, and money's going out faster than it's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I know it's temporary and we're going to get the sale and we're going to get the cash flow back, but it's like, it sucks for like a month.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money. You know, you're stroking checks for like 3-4 weeks. So private money might be something. I'm gonna look into that.
100%.
Just thinking out loud now.
No, it's okay because that's the secret. I mean, not secret. It's known.
Mm-hmm.
But most guys, like, it stunts your growth. Like, you had that growth period where you're like,
yeah,
let me slow down.
Stopped. Yeah.
And we're just rolling because
Mm-hmm.
we're rolling with other people's money. The game is just how many investors, how many lenders can I find?
Yeah.
And that's why freaking Alex and Brian are buying up Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because all they got is private money, dude. They're just using private money and they didn't refi with the
So
bank.
that's what I need to get with. I almost reached out to Alex too. So if he watches this, I want to talk
Good
to you.
dude. That's my guy. Yeah.
The volume they do, and do they do any wholesaling or do they acquire everything?
No, they wholesale a lot.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So that was one of those guys where it's like, I'm seeing them buying houses. I know they're not acquiring all that. And if they are, they're taking on a tremendous amount of private money or debt.
Mm-hmm.
But with just private money, are they utilizing any debt or is it all private money cash?
Most of it is private and then refi out of it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So they're just using it to acquire, not
There
necessarily
you
to
go.
hold.
There
Okay,
you go.
okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
Yeah, private's hard to hold.
Yeah,
with
because they
unless
want
you get
10.
somebody.
Yeah. So it's very hard to hold long term.
Yeah.
So okay, and then the refi out along with permanent financing.
Yep.
Are they doing everything on 30s? Are they
I
doing
think
on
20 and 30.
20,
Depending on who's going to get them approved based on their
yeah,
terms and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go, tell us. I know you're transitioning a ton into your coaching and putting a ton of energy into your students.
Yes, sir.
How can someone get in contact with you if they wanted to learn about your coaching?
Absolutely. I am heavy on Instagram, social media. We talked about that. So Instagram actually has been like my number one hub for coaching students kind of coming
People
into
reaching
my
out.
world and my ecosystem. So, I mean, if you're somebody out there and you want to know about wholesaling, you want to know about my mentorship, my coaching, everything that it entails, just go ahead and hit me up on Instagram at Tez Arbertha. That's at TezArbertha. Shoot me a DM and let's talk.
Yep. Or if you just got a deal and you want a JV on something.
If you got a deal, yeah.
You wanna do
same
that
same
too.
way, same at name, DM me. It won't change. So yeah, I'll be here.
Perfect. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it.
I
This was
appreciate you,
awesome.
brother.
And then we're about to make some more content.
Let's
so
do it.
look out. We're gonna do some more videos for you guys. So
Let's go.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
See y'all.